Okay, complete the table of values for y is equal to x squared subtract 2x subtract 1. Now this type of formula is for a quadratic or a parabola, something squared. And I know that the sketch for those is going to look either like this or like this. A happy quadratic or a sad quadratic. Can't really see that, there we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my calculator and use the table function on the calculator. So on this you press mode. Table for me is option 7. And then I type in the formula. F of x stands for formula. So x squared subtract 2x subtract 1. And then the start is the first x value you have to work out, which is -1. The last x value you have to work out, which is 4. And it goes up in 1, so step is 1. And this table gives you everything as columns rather than rows. So I want the second column, which goes 2, -1, -2, -1, 2, and 7. And now on the grid provided, draw the graph of y is equal to x squared subtract 2x subtract 1 for the values of x from -1 to 4. So, no need to rush this part, but take them one at a time. And you've got x coordinate, y coordinate, x coordinate, y coordinate, and so on. So the first pair of coordinates is -1, 2. So plot that on. Then 0, -1. Then 1, -2. Then 2, -1. All quadratics are symmetrical, so that was to be expected. 3, 2, and 4, 7. I'll get you 1 out of those 2 marks, and then draw a smooth curve going through those points. Something like that. Okay. In part C, use your graph to find estimates for the solutions of the equation x squared subtract 2x subtract 1 is equal to 0. Now the first thing I would do is observe the fact that this part of the equation is exactly the same as the graph I've just sketched. With the only difference is they want the y value to be equal to 0. So this equation equal to 0. So if I traced my pencil along this curve, I'm just waiting for the y value to be equal to 0. And it happens twice. It happens there, and it happens there. So the one there is, for me anyway, -0.4. And then the other one for me is approximately 2.3. And this page is out of 6 marks. Okay, so we've got a trigonometry question. Next, we have a diagram given to us, not drawn to scale. All the information given to you is written on diagram, and we have to find the length of QR. So QR would be this length, which I'm going to call x. Now for trigonometry, you need 2 bits of information. So if I just try to focus on just this right angle triangle, I only know one thing about it, the angle being 44 degrees. So I have to use the other triangle to work out a length for this little small triangle. So the best length to pick is this one, which I'll call y, and then use trigonometry on this. So on that right angle triangle there, y 8.438, we have label the sides you are given or want to work out. So opposite and adjacent. Identify the correct trig ratio, which would be TOA. This gives you the formula tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. Any formula, you substitute the stuff you know. So tan theta represents the angle, 38, equals opposite, which is y, over adjacent, which is 8.4. Now before I begin doing this, I just want to remind you of one thing. Now sometimes calculators are in the wrong mode, and one thing to check is if you type in sine of 90, the answer to this should always be 1. And mine isn't equal to 1, which means my calculator's in the wrong mode. So the first thing I'm going to do is press setup, and I want it in degree mode, i.e. angles measured in degrees. So that's number 3. Sine 90. Okay, now the calculator's in the right mode. It's only going to be make mistakes if you're doing trigonometry questions or sine, cos, or tan. Right, let's make y the subject. So best way to do this, or the only way to do this, is multiply by 8.4. To give you y is equal to tan 38 times by 8.4. Remembering to round your answer to 3SF. So tan 38, close the bracket, times 8.4. So 3SF would be 6.56. And that's out of 4. Okay. This one could be a Pythagoras' theorem question or a trigonometry question because it's just giving you lengths. However, they've asked you to work out the bearing of A from B. And bearing is an angle. Okay, now the key thing is which angle do you want to work out? And the clue is in the wording. So bearing of A from B. In other words, you're going to start at B and finish at A. So I'm going to start at B and I want to finish down at A. Now bearing is measured from the north direction and it goes in a clockwise direction. So start at north, start at B, go in a clockwise direction and stop until you finish facing A, and that would be that angle there. Now I can't really work that out directly, however, most of that is a straight line, which is 180 degrees. And therefore, if I could work out that angle there, which I'll call theta, my bearing would be 180 plus theta. And now it's a trig question because it's to do with angles and lengths. So I'm going to label the stuff I'm given or want to work out. So opposite, adjacent, which is TOA again. Tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. Tan theta equals, substitute everything in, 35 over 80. Make theta the subject by doing the opposite of tan, which is inverse tan, tan to the minus 1. To get theta equals inverse tan of 35 over 80. Gives you 23.629, so on, and I want it to the nearest degree, so (24 degrees to the nearest degree). But the final answer would be the bearing, which is 180 degrees plus my answer of 24 degrees. To to give you 204 degrees as a bearing. Now some of you worked out the wrong angle, i.e. this one, and to be fair you get 3 out of 4 marks for either working out this top angle or this bottom angle. So, but the bearing itself is the one I've drawn in there. So that's out of 4.